A while back, I compared an 8-core AMD FX 8320 to a quad-core Intel i5 3570, and well, yeah, it didn't go so well for the FX. The i5, in most tests, just owned it. Now, the FX 8320 was released about 4 months after the i5, and they were both clocked similarly. Many say, though, that the FX comes alive when it's overclocked. Well, okay. Let's just see what difference an overclock will make against its stock performance, and then at the end, we'll take a look and see how that lines up with the other CPUs. For this test, I dug out the old 8320 again and added some heatsinks across the VRMs, and even picked up this larger universal CPU heatsink to help keep it cool. If you know anything about the FX line, you know that they love power, and because of that, they run hot. This CPU will be overclocked to 4.4 GHz. Anything above that caused it to be extremely unstable. It could be the chip lottery, but chances are it's this board. Regardless, that's still 900 MHz above its base speed, so that should give us a pretty good boost. Well, let's see how it all performs. First up, as usual, I ran Passmark, and after the overclock, it scored over 1,000 points higher in the CPU test. The memory test also scored a couple hundred points higher. Not great, but it's something. In 7-zip, the overclock also helped quite a bit. The overclock run finished 23 seconds sooner. Now this is where the FX fails, single-threaded performance. And as you can see, once overclocked, it does much better, finishing 6 minutes sooner. How does that relate to a similar Intel CPU? Well, just wait, we'll get there. In the multi-threaded run, this is where the FX shines. The overclock run was almost a minute faster and scored nearly 1,000 points higher. Okay, so it shines with multi-threaded jobs. Well, let's load them up with some video compression. In Handbrake, the overclock run averaged nearly 10 FPS faster, and therefore it finished 2.5 minutes sooner. So let's see if this overclock helps gaming any. First up, Heaven. And yeah, the average FPS is higher, not by a huge amount, but it is higher. You can't tell I'm trying to be positive here. Same thing went for Superposition. You can tell though that there definitely is a bottleneck, and this overclock has not solved it. Before capturing any of this, I obviously played around with different settings. I found multiplier overclocking gave pretty much the same results as overclocking the base clock. I've read that overclocking the base clock can yield slight improvements, and while I'm sure that's true, it's nothing like a good old FSB overclock on other CPUs. Seems that with these, multiplier overclocking with a slight B clock bump to fine tune it is the way to go. Now, I ran the Cyberpunk benchmark just to see what it could do with this combo. And at low settings, it's not great, but definitely not bad. The overclocked run averaged a few FPS higher, but also note the GPU was pretty maxed out. Either way, if you had to, you could run this on an FX.
Or on red.
Unreal Tournament 3, I always love to use this because I just love the way this game looks. And it's also much easier on the GPU. And well, the overclocked version did better, but only by about 40 FPS. Fallout New Vegas, well, it shows off the FX's shortcomings when it comes to single-threaded performance. This game engine, for the most part, is single-threaded, with some parts, like the physics engine, supposedly being multi-threaded. We can see that here. The overall CPU usage is low, yet we're not even hitting 60 FPS. The overclock helps, but as you can see, not too much. Crysis Remastered is multi-threaded and does much better. However, the overclock only gained us about 22 FPS on average. The original Need for Speed Most Wanted is another one of those games that really weren't multi-threaded. While it's not doing too bad here, it is an older game, and the overclock only got us 6 FPS more. GTA 4 is an oddball. The last time I tested it with this CPU, I noticed that it got a lower average frame rate compared to the Intel, but it felt better. There was less input lag, and the game all around just felt smoother. And the same thing happened here. It still ran okay, but overclocked, I got an average frame rate 15 FPS higher, and all around it just felt smoother.
Stay out of the way!
Damn it!
GTA 5, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. I remember in the previous test against the i5, I said that the i5 felt smooth with no input lag, and the FX played like you'd probably remember GTA 4 playing. It felt forced on the FX. I hoped with an overclock that it'd be gone, but nope, it felt exactly the same on each. But hey, at least we're over 60 FPS on each, and with the overclock it got us a whole 9 FPS. Yeah, 9.
What the fuck?
And I gotta do Portal 2. Portal and Portal 2 run great on anything you install them on. And we got about a 10 FPS improvement, but either way, they both played great. So, what do these results mean? How do they compare to others? Well, here's the overclocked FX against an i7 3770. The single core run shows just how bad the FX's individual core performance is. Even with the FX overclocked, the i7 still finished 6 minutes sooner. Now, the multi-threaded run was far better, with the FX actually beating it by a few seconds. But remember, I had to overclock the FX almost 1 gigahertz to get it to even do that. Handbrake was a similar story. It beat the i7 in Handbrake by encoding 5 FPS faster on average. Now here's how it compares to the 3770 and 4770. It really depends on what you throw at it. Some tasks, like Handbrake, it uses all those cores and can either come close or even beat the i7. But that's not often, and most of the time, it's pretty far behind. Yeah, it sounded great at the time. An octa-core CPU with an unlock multiplier that's cheaper than a mid-range Intel with only 4 cores? Well, sad part is that mid-range Intel CPU was faster, and its big brother, the i7, was a whole lot faster when compared to the FX. As usual, if you're still here, I'd like to say thank you, and let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.